guys, I am the Naval Guy, and today I'll be discussing the Japanese battleship Fuso. The Fuso had a pretty good career and also had some pretty interesting modifications. And also, before we start, I would just like to give a shout out to Yamato 30. He's a really good guy, and please check out his channel. He makes really good videos and he's inspired me to make the Naval Guy YouTube channel. So now let's move on to the video. So, the IJN Fuso was a dreadnought battleship which was laid down in March 1912, launched in March 1914, and commissioned in November 1915. When commissioned, she was 29,330 tons, length of 665 feet, beam of 94.2 feet, draft of 28.7 feet, had 2 steam turbines, 24 water tube boilers, and 4 propeller shafts for power and propulsion, speed of 23 knots, and had a crew of 1,198. She also had good armor and armament for the time. For armor, she had a main belt of 9 to 12 inches, deck had a thickness of 1.3 to 2 inches, and her turret and turret barbettes had a thickness of 8 to 12 inches. Her main battery include 12 14-inch guns in dual turrets. Her secondary battery includes 6 6-inch guns in single turrets, and she also had 6 21-inch torpedo tubes. The Fuso saw no active service in World War I as there were no naval battles happening. And when commissioned, she was assigned to the Japanese First Fleet under the command of Captain Kozo Sato. Here she served as flagship until 1918 as she went under some modifications, including the addition of 5 anti-aircraft guns. And she also aided survivors after the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 from September 9 to 22, 1923. During this time period, she was commanded by Captain Mitsumasa Yonai and Captain Sankichi Takahashi. And after 1930, she was serving around Chinese waters and was being placed in and out of the reserve fleet. In April 1930, her first major modifications began. She was at the Yokosuka Naval Arsenal on April 12, 1930, and here her machinery, guns, and armor was reinforced, and she also had torpedo bulges fitted. Now, torpedo bulges were to help the ship float in case the ship was damaged by a torpedo. After this, Fuso arrived at the Kure Naval Arsenal on September 27, 1932, in which her armament was reinforced and improved, and also had her torpedo tubes removed. And in May 1933, she was back in testing and sea trials. But less than a year later, she was back in for modernization, which included the ship's back or stern was increased by about 25 feet, and after a couple more major superstructure modifications, she had a very tall silhouette and a different shape that basically resembled like a Jenga tower. Her new specifications as of April 1938 include a tonnage of 35,000 tons, length of 698 feet, beam of 108.7 feet, draft of 31.10 feet, 6 water tube boilers, and 4 steam turbines for power and propulsion, speed of 24.5 knots, and had a crew of 1,900. She had 14 secondary guns in single mounts, 4 twin mounts of 5-inch anti-aircraft guns, and various other anti-aircraft guns. She also had an improved deck armor of 6 inches, and an aviation force of 3 float planes and 1 aircraft catapult. She also had more modern radar. Right after her modernization, she was assigned to the First Fleet in November 1938. Here, she operated in Chinese waters. In early 1939, she also went under some more modifications, but I think this is with some reinforcement to the anti-aircraft guns, and also some stability fixes, as you can clearly see from the photos. Her large superstructure clearly had issues. Modifications were complete as of April 1941, and after this, Fuso was assigned to the 2nd Division of the First Fleet, where she sailed with several other battleships led by Captain Ritsuko Konoshita, by September 1941. On the 8th of December 1941, in Japanese time, she was part of a group that was to sail to the Bonin Islands to support the Japanese planes which were going to bomb Pearl Harbor, which happened on December 7th, 1941 in American time. Or in Hawaiian time, rather, sorry. In February 1942, she was sent to the Kure Naval Arsenal to have her worn-out gun barrels replaced and some other minor checks. She and other battleships were part of the 2nd Battleship Division that tried to catch the American ships involved in the Doolittle Raid in April 1942, but failed. Fuso, along with the other ships in the 2nd Battleship Division, set sail for the Aleutian Islands as part of a plan to capture the island of Midway. And in late May 1942, the plan to capture Midway failed horribly. In June 1942, plans were made to change the Fuso into hybrid ships, which could carry lots of aircraft, but this was cancelled, and hybrid ships were designated to another battleship class, the Ise class. And from November 1942 to early January 1943, she was used as a training ship, where she was commanded by Captain Kaizo Komura and Captain Nobumichi Tsukora. And as of June 1943, she aided survivors from the battleship IJN Fuso, which blew up in port. Mid-July 1943, she was in Kure again for a fitting of anti-aircraft guns. And in August 1943, she sailed for the Truk Naval Base. And in October, she sailed for the Eniwetok Atoll to intercept any American attack. When she arrived on the 19th of October, she was back at the Truk Naval Base on the 26th. And from February to June 1944, Fuso transferred to many island bases, and in August she received additional anti-aircraft guns in Kure. And they left for the island of Linga on the 23rd of September and escaping submarine attacks. Then the Fuso and the rest of the 2nd Fleet left for Brunei, where they will attack the American forces trying to attack the island of Leyte in the Philippines. On the 22nd of October, Fuso and the rest of the 2nd Fleet left for Leyte Gulf. And instead for joining the rest of the fleet at Leyte, they encountered a fleet of American warships off the Surigao Strait, and this was the beginning of the end for the Fuso. At 09:08 on the 24th of October, Fuso, her sister ship Yamashiro, and the heavy cruiser Mogami spotted a group of 27 planes from the aircraft carrier USS Enterprise. The attack first dealt serious damage to Fuso, with a bomb hitting her stern and destroyed the area near Fuso's 2nd turret. This killed everyone in turret number 1 and knocking out a secondary gun. After this, she began to tilt slightly to the right or starboard side. By the next morning, the Fuso spotted a silhouette on the horizon. Fuso immediately opened fire on the silhouette, but this turned out to be the Japanese heavy cruiser Mogami. And Fuso damaged her, particularly in the medical room. At 03:09 on the 25th, torpedoes fired by the American cruiser USS Melvin hit the middle of the Fuso. This heavily damaged her and made the Fuso tilt to starboard, making her slow down and falling behind the rest of the fleet. Just minutes later, she blew up, catching on fire but miraculously stayed afloat for almost an hour, then sinking. Some theories suggest that she flooded continuously and rolled over and sank. Once she sank, she spewed oil everywhere, which ignited across the site where she sank. Only 10 people survived and made it back to Japan, and the rest were rescued by the Japanese destroyer Asagumo, which was sunk later on. And on the 25th of November 2017, her wreck was found by the RV Petrel. She lies upside down in 607 feet of water and was broken in half. So, that does it for this video about the IJN Fuso. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.